Hey Rand, how are you?
I'm good, Kristjan. By the way, can I just say it's really nice to see you. It's been such a long time, and
Absolutely, yeah.
I know we don't get to get together and hug in person, but gosh, it is nice to see your face and hear your
Yeah.
voice.
How is Geraldine? How is the family?
Geraldine is good. She is working on another book
Yes.
and making some progress there. She's in sort of the research phase, research
Yeah.
and outline phase. Um, Family's mostly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that, yeah, we were talking about the United States has been pretty hard hit with coronavirus. I had one of my cousins in New York passed away a couple weeks ago from the
I'm sad to
disease.
hear.
New York was just super hard hit.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, most of the family
Yeah.
well and healthy and safe.
Yeah. I was speaking to Aunt Kennedy. Her, and your mom are actually working on a lot of studies. I'm so amazed by them, like how they are approaching things, and like the stuff that I was reading through their kind of the way they approach investment and so on, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my mom and I share a passion for wanting to change how wealth is distributed.
There you go. One of my fondest memories coming to the US, I spoke at one of the first, if not the first, SMX Advanced in Seattle.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that's actually when I came to see you at your office when you were kind of like still kind of in a startup phase. It was actually brilliant. And then I met with your dad, and if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
he worked for Boeing or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like
He was
was like,
he was an engineer at Boeing. I think he worked there for 30 years and retired.
yeah,
He had a classic job. He would like retired the day he got his pension or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. It was a brilliant conversation. I sat with Julian and him, and we were just basically talking. And he was telling me about, it was just like these odd things that come up in conversations. He was telling me that he worked. One of the tasks he had was to kind of make all the plants or the facilities that Boeing had energy sufficient.
Right, right.
And he was explaining it to me, and it was just crazy. He didn't think about it, like just by changing light bulbs like from one type to another one
Sure.
could save energy and global warming and so on. It was just crazy. I was very
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
Boeing has huge facilities
Yeah.
in Seattle. Of course, they're really hard hit by this because travel industry is just
Oh yes.
decimated. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm pretty sure he's happy to be out.
Yeah, probably is. Just to let you know, I'm with my kids at home. I like COVID and all that. So if somebody randomly walks into the camera, then you just then you know what that
Awesome.
is. Hold on, I'm just gonna.
Oh, it looks so weird with the background.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Actually,
It
there's
looks
like
like you're not doing anything.
yeah, it's like a cavern behind me, and I don't want to show it on. You have such a nice background there, so I'm just like,
Oh, this
so
is this is physical background. This is just
yes,
all
this
real.
this is not virtual.
I
So
have a non-virtual background.
so what like, and then like Seattle, and you're still in Seattle. That's your kind of
Yeah,
hometown.
I've lived here my whole life. So built Moz here, which obviously
Yeah,
kept me here through most of my 20s and 30s, and
yeah,
then I think Geraldine and I have talked about potentially moving. I since I'm married to Geraldine, I'm eligible for Italian citizenship and EU citizenship, and
yeah.
so yeah, we've even talked about moving to the EU, which is looking more and more like a wise move.
Yeah.
uh, the United States is turning out to be maybe not quite a full democracy and maybe a bit of a failed state. But I think that would probably be after her next book and after hopefully I get this, Spark Toro off the
Factory, yeah,
ground.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been tested. Thank you for allowing me to test it. The
Oh,
thing is
good.
that I've been kind of, if you I love that you added the Boolean thing in it, and that I could like you play around with it a little bit, and even like you said to me that it was mainly US or English language focused, but you can actually find stuff there if you're a little bit clever in the way that you search. So you can actually find like Norwegian stuff there. Even I could
Oh,
find some Icelandic stuff there.
Oh,
was
awesome!
mixed
I'm glad to hear
together.
it. Yeah,
So
we have some coverage. It's just not intentionally broad. So, we basically started crawling from kind of a U.S. English base and got a lot of UK, a lot of Australia, but a lot of Canada, but not a lot of other
yeah,
stuff. We do have some German stuff, for example, but yeah.
yeah. So before we go on SparkToro, so your wife has Italian.
Yeah,
Um,
she's Italian. She was the first person in her family actually to be born in the U.S., but everybody else is Italian. So she has, yeah, this,
okay.
Italian
So
citizenship through
and
her
where
parents and
from?
grandparents.
Where from in Italy?
Let's see, most of her family's from Abruzzo, but her mom was born in Rome. Um,
Okay. So
and she's got a lot of cousins up in Milano, which
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we were supposed to be visiting actually in April,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
obviously
the
that
reason why I'm asking is not necessarily in your benefit. It's actually for me to know where you would move, so I could start to plan my trips over to
Oh yeah. No, I think
Italy.
there's a direct flight from Reykjavik to Milan, right?
Milan, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and then
Yeah, so
so
very
so
convenient.
absolutely very convenient. Hold on. Eftir smá, ég ætla að klára þetta. Hjálpar eru búin. Nei. Viltu koma og segja hæ? That's my youngest. She is
Oh my gosh.
she became 9 years
Hi.
old. 9 years old yesterday, not the day before yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday. What'd you do for your birthday?
I'm making
You're kind of stuck in quarantine, huh?
I got my speaker headset on. And she got two bunnies. And as you could think, so we got two bunnies, one for her and one for her sisters. And then
Sorry, I'm losing you a little bit on the audio.
okay, so you better now or
Yeah, better.
okay. Hold on. Ég ætla að klára þetta svo kemur. Gera þetta. No. Okay. So yeah, welcome to the family life. That's how it is. So I'm planning to go to Italy. So and that will be brilliant. So it was actually more for me than it was for you as the question.
Yeah, well, if you need any recommendations or tips, we've got a lot of friends all over Italy and family, and happy to give you some suggestions.
Yeah. So Moss and then SparkToro. What happened in between? Like, did you go directly into SparkToro or?
So I quit / was fired from Moz on what was that, February 28th of 2018, and
Yeah.
I didn't start SparkToro until March 1st.
Okay. And
so yeah, so I had like 8 hours, 12 hours off, and I watched some TV, had dinner.
Yeah, took some me time.
Yeah, it took some me time, thought about what I wanted to do with my life.
That's brilliant. It looks like we are bouncing back and forth a little bit when it comes to the video, but the sound is
I'm seeing that too.
the sound is coming through fine.
Okay.
So and was this SparkToro? Was it something that you had that you kind of had as a brainchild, or did you kind of during these 12 hours it just came up?
No, it was something I had been thinking about and considering for a while. I knew that I wanted to help people outside of search in the marketing world. So, Kristjan, you worked in search marketing and web marketing for a long time, so you sort of know, right? If you have a product or service that people don't search for, like they don't actually go to Google and type it in, then doing a lot of the web marketing elements is really about building your brand, and figuring out where to do that and how to do that is challenging and not a very scientific process. So we wanted to try and help with that.
And I mean, so far I've been testing the product, and what I found interesting is the ability to be able to connect topics to specific websites and kind of understand how people are moving around within a certain ecosystem, and it helps me also identify like influencers or what type of websites are influencing people on the path from A to Z, or from starting the journey of buying something or whatever. And I mean, if I look at Iceland and COVID, for example, You can see the social media accounts is Greta Thunberg, David Mitchell, and Charlie Broker. So these are the social media accounts that people seem to be engaged with in the US when they are searching for Iceland and COVID. And then if I look at the other kind of other like podcasts, it's Apple and News Yahoo and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this tons of times, right? With like media buyers or brand marketers, right? But a lot of the time, a CMO or a CEO will walk into a room and they'll say, "I want you to get us in the Wall Street Journal."
Yeah.
And and everybody in the room is kind of like, I don't think just because you read the Wall Street Journal doesn't mean that our customers read the Wall Street Journal. And it's frustrating, right? It's like an infuriating type of experience, but it's hard to fight back, right? You can say, well, we surveyed our audience and yada, yada, or, we interviewed some people. And of course the CEO's response is like, well, the people who read the Wall Street Journal don't have time to be interviewed. They're not going to participate in your surveys. But in this way, with SparkToro, you can basically say, look, this isn't survey data. This is true audience analysis, right? It basically is crawling all the social profiles and web about pages, putting them together, and then saying, look, 3% of the audience you want to reach reads the Wall Street Journal. 15% reads this trade publication. How about we put our budget and our effort towards getting into that publication instead of your prestige, piece in the Wall Street Journal? And sometimes that data can make the difference. And I certainly, I feel like this data has always been missing, and it's sort of infuriating. So I'm glad we're able to bring it to bear, and I hope that over time we can make it more valuable and useful, and sort of learn what people want and need from the tool.
Yeah, and I mean, are you able to? I mean, I've basically been seeing you rolling out changes now over the past weeks. The tool that I tested like a couple of weeks ago when I got access to it is not the same tool. There's a lot of nice, neat little things that you added to it. Is there anything else that you like? Is it a product roadmap that you can share? Is there anything exciting coming up?
Sure. So what I think, let's see, on the bigger things we're building front, one of the big ones people want is sort of nice looking PDF reports. So being able to say, okay, great, I've got this audience I want to reach. Can you allow me to export like a nice PDF, that one pager that I can just pass to my boss or team or whatever? So that's one of the things we're working on. One of the ones I'm maybe even more excited about, although not a lot of people have specifically asked for it, is tracking, like brand tracking. So if you were to say, oh, I want to look at this particular industry in Iceland, and I want you to follow it over time and show me what's changing, and tell me, who are the rising stars, right? What are people starting to follow on social networks? What publications are starting to become more popular? What words and phrases are people using to describe themselves? Where are they starting and stopping work? All those kinds of things. That's data that we should be able to, put together and track over time. So it'd probably be, monthly data.
Yeah, one thing that you could do, I was just kind of like now I'm in product development here with you, is emojis. Like
emojis.
Yeah, so like if I put in Iceland, what emojis are people using when they're talking about Iceland? So like, but if you think about it, like sentiment analysis is shit. Basically, it doesn't work because there's a lot of words and there's a lot of correlation that the sentiment analysis engines don't get. But emojis are universal. So a smiley emoji in the US, in Iceland, in Norway, and China is basically a smiley emoji. If it is a puking emoji, then there's something puking happening. It could be ironic, but if you start to see the connection between these different emojis, you can use the data to actually say, okay, from a topical point of view, everybody's happy. So there's a lot of hearts and a lot of things like that. And then you can cluster them and say, okay, I want to drill down into like, okay, the people who are puking, what are they talking about? So you can, or some kind of like an overview of it. So look at like, because one of the things which I like about SparkToro is the ability to be able to see the social media connections to it, and the way that kind of what people are Hidden Gems accounts, website visited, and so on and so on. And then maybe from a topical point of view, I could get a quick overview of the emojis, which could tell me, okay, what is my brand being kind of, how are people perceiving my brand? So it could be kind of, but just something like that. So you get all the audience insights, and the audience is kind of, these are the audiences, places, frequent used words, and so on and so on. And then these are the most used emojis
The
around.
most used emojis. Yeah, that doesn't seem difficult. It probably would be the same way we index hashtags.
Yeah,
We would just
exactly.
count the emojis, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because then it comes actually multilingual, so it doesn't matter. So if an English speaking person wants to see something in Germany but doesn't get the context of it, that visual context suddenly becomes much more stronger. So basically, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think our challenge on the non-English side is just indexing enough web profiles and social profiles um, from non-English countries to get substantive data. But eventually, we should be able to get there. Another challenge, of course, is we are currently very Instagram light. So we're more sort of Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, all those kinds of channels. But I think Instagram is another really big one that we eventually have to go over. We did not want to be associated with the influencer marketing field. And Instagram is very, sort of influencer heavy. And so it was kind of an intentional move on our part to not do Instagram. But Instagram has a ton of emojis, obviously.
you shouldn't sell yourself short on your, like I'm looking at, I wrote in Norway in Norwegian, and I put in the location as in Oslo, Norway, and I still get a decent amount of data. So
Okay.
I've been testing this a little bit. So I've been actually surprised and pleasantly surprised on the data that is hidden there, which I've been kind of playing around with a little bit. So it's been quite good. And I'm looking
Oh,
forward.
that's really
And
good.
I'm the city level geographic distribution is spot on. The hashtags are actually Norwegian based, most of them. So yeah, so actually yeah, cool. So interesting. It's an interesting. My only challenge with it is that I'm still, and I can hear what you're saying with it, is that I'm still finding a way to kind of sit down with a client and say, okay, here's data that you need to look at. So that's my only challenge now. So it's kind of identify the real kind of potential of it. And I've been watching your videos, and I get it, but I'm in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm trying to understand how I can articulate it myself as a marketeer.
Yeah. I think we've found a few folks sort of find it instantly applicable, especially those who are doing kind of content marketing and PR style pitches, where they just, oh, hey, we're launching this new content piece. What outlets do we reach out to get coverage?
Yeah,
And that has kind of that classic PR style approach, but a different data set than what you get in a PR database. And then the same thing on the advertising side, right? If somebody's trying to figure out their media buying budget or their ad spend budget, and they don't want to just throw money at Google and Facebook, they want to do more creative things. SparkToro is great for figuring out what those publications are. But I think the challenge that we have is explaining these use cases and how to apply the information, how to make it actionable. And probably some of that is going to be, early customers doing it for us, right?
yeah,
Showing off how they're using it and explaining that. So that's certainly something we need to see.
yeah. And one of the things that is interesting is that I work a lot in B2B, and
Sure.
B2B influencer marketing is actually quite challenging. It's really difficult because there are databases like Ghost Lamp out there which have like 20 million micro influencers, which are all B2C more or less. But actually, when I'm looking at Cisco which is a kind of a client, is like if I'm doing trying to identify influencers, I could potentially build a list of websites which I can say, okay, here are websites which we need to look into, and they potentially could be a part of the influencer program we're trying to build.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. I think for when it comes to B2B influencer marketing, SparkToro is really pretty darn good because you can see all the social networks and you can see what percent of an audience is followed. So we've seen a lot of people using it for, I want to reach chemical engineers in Canada, or I'm trying to reach HR directors at mid to late stage funded startups,
Yeah.
or I want to reach an audience of people who are, or business owners of, what was one of the ones, auto dealerships, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of B2B, especially small mid-market, it's really good for sales prospecting if you're doing it, if you're doing sort of the marketing qualified leads
Yeah.
process. We've seen some users do that, but yeah, it's weird. One thing, Kristjan, like Moz, at Moz I had basically two kinds of customers, right?
Mm.
The small to medium business, or even bigger business with like an in-house SEO person,
Mm.
and I had the marketing agency that did SEO. Like
Yeah.
those were my two customers. SparkToro, we've got, we're around 150, 160 customers right now. We're only a few weeks out from launch, but the distribution of those people is
Yeah.
all over the place, like
Yeah.
market researcher, brand marketer, public relations person,
Yeah.
content agency, SEO agency, the in-house marketers, owners of startups, product
Yeah.
managers doing persona building. It's just all over.
Yeah.
And so I think we sort of have to figure out what's, where's the product going to resonate most, and then try and build towards that. But it's
Yeah. But it is a really promising start, Rand, and
oh,
I've
well,
been
thank you.
and I am looking forward seeing where you're going with it, because as soon as this COVID thing is over and you start to be able to meet people and showcase the product, it's going to be brilliant, and the stuff that you've
Yeah,
been adding to
I'm
it.
definitely, Casey and I'm sure you have this experience too, right, with your clients and business, but this COVID thing is just, it's so scary for so many people. And
Yeah.
we are luckier than most, for sure. You and I both, but I am really scared. Like a lot of
Yeah.
mornings I wake up scared, like, gosh, are we going to be able to make it through this thing? What happens if they're talking about very, very likely, because all the US states are opening up, that it's going to have a second wave here in the US, and that'll trigger an even worse recession or depression. Yeah, just, it scares me to think, man, are we going to be able to make a go of this? Because we launched at what we thought was going to be an amazing time, and it turned out to be just maybe the worst time to try and get a new startup off the ground in, the last 50 years.
Yeah, but it still shows the merit of the tool that you're able to do what you've done so far, and I think a bumpy start actually can help you in the long run.
Yeah,
And
I mean, certainly if we can survive this, we're going to be
yeah,
well
you're
set
gonna
up
be
for the
fine.
future.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. Um,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
What are you finding with your sort of clients and businesses out there? Are you seeing a big economic impact, or not as much?
Well, uh, the travel clients are just basically gone.
Yeah.
That's it, and those actually were some of our largest clients.
Mm.
Um, um, you could kind of see clients split up into two groups: the ones that basically just shut everything down, and then the other ones that said, okay, there's something here, we need to work with it. And some of these, so there's if you look at clients that are working with a brand, for example, you have clients which are trying to do brand activation and others which trying to do sales activation. The ones doing sales activation are clients that normally are directly related to kind of a solution around, like you have Zoom, for example, or like these types of tools that people have to have. You could
Yeah.
see the Best Buys of the world change their website, so basically became, we help you build your home office. And then you have the ones who are understanding that the consumption of content now, because people are staying home. They are binge watching Friends or whatever it is. But they're moving. But they're also looking. They're researching stuff. Like there's a furniture client that I have noticed that actually sales of furniture has gone up. And in Norway, the post office said that every day is like Black Friday, basically. So so it's been quite interesting to see how this has manifested. But
so you've seen like just a big rise in e-commerce over in Iceland as well.
Yeah, but I'm actually in Norway now. But then
Okay.
I know it's the same in Iceland. Yeah, so I moved to Oslo 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I did
so
not realize that. Well,
no,
there
but
you go.
we fly back and forth, and we have a family, and we have a company in
Yeah.
Iceland and here, so it's back and forth. But that's the beauty of the Nordic system, is that you can basically move between the countries and experience the best of all.
Wow.
That's brilliant. But
Yeah, that is really nice.
I was been talking. So the reason why I'm doing these interviews around this is that I'm kind of, this is the first year since 2004 I'm not able to do Reykjavik Internet Marketing Conference.
Oh.
We're seeing what happens next fall, this fall, but we're gonna see how it goes, and then I had to cancel it, or we had to kind of postpone it. But and one of the things which I've been doing is just reaching out to people that have come and speak, and you're one of them, of course. And I was remembering with somebody, I can't remember who it was, that when you came, you were super tired and you didn't want to go to sleep. You just came in there and you said, like, I'm gonna try to stay awake because I don't want to like go to sleep now. Then my clock goes crazy. And you were so tired at the dinner, I think it was Thursday before the conference, that you were basically falling asleep at the table. And then you
Yeah,
suddenly
that
woke
sounds
up.
right.
Then you suddenly stood up and said, "Oh, guys, I've hit my limit. I have to go." So then he went and we had this brilliant conference on Friday. But then we went out afterwards. Um, and I think you and I were talking, and I was telling you about the impact that Chris Sherman had on me, and
Yeah.
his kind of helpfulness in regards of like allowing me to speak at conferences and bringing me in and so on. And then you said, let's call him. So you took up your phone and you called him. It was like the middle of the night in Iceland. So we called him and we got an answering machine, and we started like shouting into the phone, "Chris, wake up, wake up, wake up." And we were at like an ice bar or something, if I remember correctly. And
That's
Chris told me afterwards, and I spoke to him about this. He said, "Kristjan, yes, I live in the other side of the house. My office is in like way here, and I basically woke up my family. It was so it was so loud, but I didn't have time. I didn't want to come down and bless you in coming and speaking to you, but I was smiling because you basically woke up everybody in the house, and we are in the opposite because you spoke
oh
so
man,
loud.
we are monsters.
Yeah,
Monsters.
but it was good times, and it was good stories.
Oh my goodness. If I remember correctly, let's see, when I came to Iceland, I don't think I had a beard yet. I think, yeah,
Well,
I was a young one.
yeah, probably, but it's not that you're very old now.
Well, I'm feeling a little old.
Well, you got a
Let me
little bit
tell
of
you
a
that.
gray. Like, look at me. I'm fully gray. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, I hope I look as good as you.
oh yeah, come
Uh,
on. Well,
in my years ahead.
you look great. There's nothing wrong with your look. It's brilliant, and I'm super happy in your behalf for Spark Toro,
Oh, thank you.
and you're one of the inspirations here. Um,
Oh,
uh, I mean, this has been brilliant, Ron. Thank you for doing this.
oh, it's my
And you
pleasure.
give Geraldine a big hug from me and your mom, of course,
I
and the guys.
will. I will. Kristjan, you take care of yourself. Let's let's do this again sometime soon, and
Yeah,
B, whenever you get Reykjavik
yeah,
internet marketing back up,
yeah.
let me know. I would love to
Absolutely,
come.
yes. You've been on the list. I think we spoke like 3 or 4 years ago, and you couldn't make it at that time, and then hopefully you can come now, I'll definitely be working with Spark Toro. It's a brilliant tool. I love it. Thank you.
I'm very excited to travel again and thrilled to hear it.
Yeah,
Anything I can do, let me know,
yeah,
and keep in touch, man. Stay
yeah.
safe.
Stay on the line. I'm gonna chat with you after I stop the recording.